Hi everyone, Angela here. Print out the pattern at 100% letter size and check with the 1-inch square. Cut out all the pattern pieces and join the long band pieces together. You can find the link for this pattern and the tools I use down in the description. I've pre-washed my towels and my fabric. Line up the pattern piece for the band with one side of the towel, then fold back the other end so that it's an inch wider. This way the band will be half an inch wider on each side. You'll need one of piece B cut out of batting. I'm using plain cotton batting for the first set. You can use a fat quarter or a fat flat to cut out this pattern. The pattern pieces can be cut along the crosswise or lengthwise grain. Because this fabric has a directional pattern and I want it running across the towel this way, I'll cut the band along the crosswise grain. The top piece will be folded over a bar like this, so I want the pattern of the fabric to be running lengthwise. You'll need 2 fabric pieces, so fold the fabric with right sides together and cut it out all at once. Turn the 2 pieces sideways and center the batting on top. Clip in the center, then turn the side edges over the batting half an inch and clip in place. Repeat on the other side and add more clips if you need to. With the band wrong side up, mark a line 1 inch up from both of the long edges. I'm using a heat erasable pen. Fold up the edges to the line and press across on both sides. Then fold in the sides of the band half an inch and press. With right side up, decide how far up you'd like to place the band from the edge of the towel. I'm marking 3 inches up from the edge. Place the band on the marks, match the side edges, and clip in place. Along both sides, put in a few pins perpendicular to the edges. I'm using the Juki TL-2010Q sewing machine. The link for this and the tools I use are down in the description below. If you're in Australia or New Zealand, click the link for Echidna Sewing and Juki Junkies for North America. Starting at the top right corner, we'll edge stitch the band all around. Stitch about a 1/16 of an inch from the edge, back tacking at the start and finish. At the corners, have your needle down, pivot, and then push in the seam allowances so that they're not sticking out. Sew both sides of the top piece using a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, back tacking at the start and finish. Remove the clips, separate the fabric at the ends, pull apart at the seams, flip over, and crease along the folds. Turn right side out and match the folded edges. Close each side with an edge stitch, back tacking at the start and finish. For the second set, I'm using a fusible batting with the glue dots on one side. This one is the Valiseline H640. Again, cut 1 of piece B. The fabric I'm using for this set doesn't have a directional print, so I'm going to cut along the crosswise grain. I'm also placing the center of the band pattern along the fold of the fabric to cut out 1 piece. Have one of the top pieces wrong side up, then center the batting on top with the glue side down. Carefully flip over and press together. From each corner, mark 1.5 inches in from each side. The rickrack I'm using is half an inch wide, but you can use narrower or wider. To add the rickrack to the band, place it on top with the end just slightly past the edge of the fabric and the curves lined up with the side. To sew down the center of the rickrack, carefully stitch just below the bottom of the curves. Sew on both sides of the band, and there's no need to back tack. When you get to the end, just cut the rickrack slightly longer than the band. If you're finding this video helpful, make sure to like, share, subscribe, turn on all notifications, and leave a comment below. As always, I'd love to know where in the world you're watching from. On each side, Turn the edge of the band under along the stitch line and press across. Then turn over, fold the ends in 1/2 inch and press. Position the band on the towel where you'd like it. Then fold each corner of the seam allowance on a 45-degree angle and clip in place. Put in a few pins again and edge stitch all around. The corners should be neat and tidy without any raw edges showing. For the top piece, we're only adding the rickrack between the marks. Place the end of the rickrack just past the mark and then pull it over the edge of the fabric. Stitch down the center of the rickrack, keeping the curves lined up with the edge. At the other mark, angle the rickrack to the side, stitch across, cut, and then repeat on the other side. With right sides together, place this piece with the rickrack on top of the other piece, matching all the edges. Fold over the ends and clip together just like we did with the other one. I'm stitching the sides again with a 1/4 inch seam allowance and also making sure I'm stitching right on top of the previous stitching. You'll have to adjust the seam allowance if your rickrack is a different size. Once done, turn it right side out and stitch the ends closed. Pull the rickrack at the seams and press. On the first top piece, I'm adjusting the side seams so that they're right in the middle. Fold in half and mark the center at each end. Draw a line down the center and then lines 1 inch from it on either side. For the other top piece, I'm going to mark quilt lines from corner to corner. Instead of using a pen, you can also use a tool called a Hera marker. It has a sharp, rounded edge, so when you press down on the fabric, it'll leave a crease for you to follow. If you want, increase the stitch length a bit. Stitch along all the quilt lines, backtacking at the start and finish. Stitch all in the same direction so there's no twisting of the fabric. For this crisscross one, you can actually sew the ends closed at the same time. To attach the rings, fold the ends over about 1 inch or so until there's about 3/8 of an inch of fabric sitting flat below it. Match the center lines and then stitch around from edge to edge, backtacking at the start and finish. Keep the side of the presser foot against the ring while sewing around. You can see with this one, the rickrack stops just over the ring, so there's no wastage and less bulk on the back. This project is quick and easy, and it's a great way to use up those smaller pieces of fabric and scraps. Thanks again for watching. Make sure to check out my video up next.